Across the vast Pacific, thousands of islands rise from the ocean, each with its own secrets, its own stories, passed down for generations. Tales of clever heroes, of gods and guardians, of islands born from the sea, and of forces that shaped the sky and earth. Some stories are bold, some are quiet. All carry the wisdom of the islands. Tonight, you will journey with Māui, the trickster who fished up the islands, witness the birth of the sky and earth, and meet guardians who watch over land and sea. Each story is a window into a world where every wave, stone, and star has meaning, and where the magic of Polynesia still lives. Stay, listen, and let yourself be carried across the ocean from one story to the next. Our journey begins now. Long ago, in a land shaped by rivers and valleys, there was a place where water moved slowly between stone and forest. The river did not rush. It followed an ancient path, winding calmly through the land, reflecting the sky as it passed. Those who lived nearby knew the river well. They listened to it, they respected it, and they knew it was protected. Beneath the quiet surface of the water lived a taniwha, not a creature of fear, but of guardianship. The taniwha had been there longer than memory, longer than names. It rested where the river deepened, where stone was smooth and currents slowed. The taniwha did not seek attention. It moved rarely, and when it did, the movement was gentle. A shift of water, a change in flow, a soft ripple along the surface. Most days, it simply watched. The people of the land felt its presence without seeing it. When the river was calm, they knew the taniwha was resting. When mist rose softly at dawn, they knew it was awake. There was comfort in this knowing. One evening, as the light faded and the forest grew quiet, a young traveler came to the river. He had journeyed far, and the weight of the day rested heavily on him. He paused at the water's edge, unsure whether to cross. The river looked peaceful, but deep places often are. The traveler sat down, listening. The water moved slowly, as if breathing. The air was cool. The land felt steady beneath him. Beneath the surface, the taniwha became aware, not alarmed, not disturbed, simply aware. It felt the traveler's weariness, his uncertainty, the quiet respect in the way he waited instead of forcing his way forward. The Tanua shifted gently. The river responded. The current softened near the crossing, stones settling into place, water lowering just enough to reveal a safe path. The traveler noticed. He did not question it. He stood slowly, stepping carefully across the stones, feeling the water cool around his ankles. Each step felt supported, as if the river itself were guiding him. When he reached the other side, he paused. He placed his hand on the earth and gave thanks, not aloud, but quietly from within. The Taniwha felt this too, and the river returned to its gentle rhythm. Seasons passed. The people continued their lives, fishing, walking, resting, listening. The Taniwha remained. Sometimes, when heavy rains came, the river would rise, but never beyond what the land could hold. Sometimes paths would shift, guiding travelers away from danger before they even realized it. The Taniwha did not command, it protected. It remembered the shape of the land and kept it in balance. At night, when the stars reflected in the water and the world grew quiet, the Taniwha rested deeply. Its presence settled into the riverbed, steady as stone, patient as time. Mist would rise gently, curling above the surface, wrapping the valley in calm. Those who slept nearby slept peacefully. They dreamed of flowing water, of slow movement, of being watched over without being seen. Even now, Taniwha are said to remain in rivers, lakes, and coastlines. Not everywhere, not for everyone, but where they are, they guard, they hold memory, they keep balance. When you sit near water and feel an unexpected calm, when the land feels quietly aware, when the path ahead seems to open without effort, it is said a guardian is near. The river continues to flow. The Taniwha continues to watch. The land rests in its care. And you too may rest, like the water, moving slowly, like the stone, supported and still. Long ago, On an island shaped by sun and sea, there lived a young man beside the shore. His days followed a quiet pattern. He rose with the light, walked along the sand, and listened to the ocean as it moved steadily in and out of the land. The sea was never the same, yet it was always familiar. One morning, as the tide rested low and calm, the young man noticed something unusual. Near the edge of the water, partly hidden by wet sand, lay the body of an eel. It was large, still, and unlike anything he had seen before. The young man paused. He did not feel fear, only curiosity and a quiet sense that this moment mattered. As he looked closer, the eel opened its eyes. They were dark and calm, reflecting the sky above. The eel spoke softly, not with sound, but with understanding. It asked for water. The young man did not hesitate. He brought water from the sea and poured it gently over its eel's body, cooling its skin, easing its stillness. The eel rested, breathing slowly, and watched him with care. Days passed, and the young man returned often. Each time he brought water, and each time the eel grew stronger. A quiet bond formed between them, not of words, but of presence and trust. One evening, as the sun lowered itself into the ocean and the world grew soft with gold and shadow, the eel spoke again. Its message was calm, but final. It told the young man that its time was ending. There was no sorrow in its voice, only acceptance. The eel asked for one thing. When it was gone, the young man was to bury its head near his home, where the earth was warm and the rain could reach it. The young man listened carefully. He felt the weight of the request, but he also felt its truth. When the eel grew still once more, the young man carried out its wish. He dug a place in the earth, gentle and deep, and laid the eel's head there with respect. The days continued. Sun rose, rain fell, the ocean breathed. And then, from the place where the eel was buried, something began to grow. At first, it was only a small shoot, barely visible, but it grew steadily, reaching upward with quiet determination. Its leaves unfolded slowly, catching the light. Before long, a tall tree stood where the eel had rested. The young man watched in wonder. The tree's trunk was strong and straight, its leaves wide and generous, and soon it bore fruit, round, smooth, and filled with promise. When the young man opened the fruit, he saw something familiar. Inside the coconut, 3 dark marks formed a pattern. 2 eyes and a mouth. The eel was still present, not in body, but in gift. The coconut offered nourishment, its water refreshed, its flesh sustained, its shell protected. Nothing was wasted. Everything was useful. The tree gave freely, asking nothing in return. The young man shared the coconuts with others. They learned how to drink from them, how to eat from them, how to build and create with what the tree provided. The coconut tree became part of daily life, quietly supporting the people as the eel once had. Over time, the story traveled.
Parents told it to children. Elders remembered it by the fire. They spoke of kindness, of honoring requests, of how care given can return in new forms. The coconut tree continued to grow along shores and villages, its leaves whispering in the breeze. Each time the wind passed through it, it sounded like the ocean, a reminder of where it began. Even now, when you hold a coconut and feel its weight in your hands, you are holding a story of care, of transformation, of gifts that endure beyond endings. The ocean still moves nearby. The trees still stand tall. And the quiet truth remains that what is given with kindness often returns, changed but whole. You may rest with that thought. Like the tree rooted in the earth, like the sea returning to shore, like the story that continues without effort.
Long ago, on an island shaped by wind and water, there lived a woman named Hina. She lived near the shore, where the land met the sea, and where the sound of waves was never far away. Hina was known for her patience and for her quiet strength. Each day she followed the same gentle rhythm, moving in harmony with the world around her. At dawn, she walked to the water's edge and listened to the ocean speak. By midday, she worked with her hands, weaving, preparing, shaping what was needed. And at night, she rested beneath the open sky, watching the stars appear one by one. But though her days were full, Hina carried a weariness within her. For a long time, she had lived under heavy expectations. Her strength was often taken for granted. Her kindness was often asked for, but rarely returned. And so, as the moon rose night after night, Hina began to look at it differently. She noticed how the moon moved slowly, never rushing, never straining. Some nights it was full and bright, lighting the ocean with silver paths. Other nights it was thin and quiet, almost hidden. Yet it always returned. Hina felt drawn to it. She felt that the moon understood the weight of time and the need for rest. And so, one evening, as the sky darkened and the waves softened, Hina made a quiet decision. She would leave the shore behind and journey upward toward the moon. Her path did not begin suddenly. There was no dramatic farewell. She simply walked inland, away from the sea, toward the rising land and the tall mountains that watched over the island. As she climbed, the air grew cooler and the sounds of the village faded until only wind and breath remained. At the highest places, where earth and sky felt close, Hina paused. Above her, the moon waited. It was calm, steady, silent. She felt no fear. Hina began her ascent, not with force, but with determination. Some stories say she climbed a rainbow. Others say she followed a hidden path of light. What matters is not how she rose, but why. She was not escaping the world. She was seeking balance. As she moved higher, the island below grew smaller. The ocean became a single dark shape, gently breathing. The moon grew brighter, its surface cool and welcoming. And finally, Hina reached it. The moon did not speak with words, but with understanding. It offered Hina a place of rest, a place untouched by noise or demand. There, time moved differently. Days did not press forward. Nights did not weigh heavily. Hina felt lighter, as though the long strain she carried had loosened its grip. From the moon, Hina could still see the earth. She watched tides rise and fall, guided by the moon's quiet pull. She saw fishermen return safely to shore. She saw travelers find their way at night. And she realized she was still connected to the world below. Hina did not abandon the earth. She watched over it. In time, she became part of the moon itself, her presence shaping its gentle cycles. When the moon is full, Hina is strong and visible, lighting the sea. When the moon wanes, she rests, gathering herself again. The people below began to notice. They learned to plant by the moon, to travel by it, to rest when it faded, and act when it grew bright. Without knowing it, they followed Hina's example. And so the moon became more than light. It became a reminder that strength does not mean constant effort, that even the brightest presence must sometimes withdraw, that rest is not weakness, but renewal. Even now, when you look up at the night sky and see the moon moving patiently through its endless cycle, you are seeing Hina's journey, her choice, her balance. The ocean still answers her call, rising and falling without struggle. The land still feels her calm influence, measured and sure, and the moon continues on its path, steady and watchful, never rushing, never forcing its light. You may watch it too, without effort, without thought. Just as Hina found her place, you may find rest where you are, between earth and sky, between story and silence. Long ago, before the islands rose from the sea, there was only the wide, quiet ocean. The water stretched in every direction, moving slowly, breathing with the rhythm of the world. Above the ocean, the sky rested calmly, and below, the deep waters held many secrets. Maui lived with his brothers near the edge of the sea. He was the youngest and often the quietest, watching the waves, listening to the wind. Each morning, his brothers prepared their canoes, paddling gently across the water to fish. And each morning, Maui followed, moving softly, careful not to disturb the calm of the sea. One night, as the moon rested high above the water, Maui felt something stirring beneath the waves. Not a sound, not a movement, just a feeling, deep and steady, as if the ocean itself was waiting. He prepared his fishing line, woven with care, strong and patient. At its end, he fastened a hook, crafted from bone, smooth from time and touch. As dawn approached, Maui's canoe drifted far from shore. The water here was deep, dark, and still. He lowered his line slowly, letting it sink far below the surface, where light faded and silence lived. The ocean remained calm, holding its breath. Then, very gently, the line grew heavy. Not suddenly, not sharply, just enough for Maui to feel it. A quiet pull, like the slow turning of the tide. He held the line with steady hands, breathing slowly, allowing the ocean to move in its own time. The canoe rocked softly as the water began to rise, lifting something ancient, something patient, something that had waited a long time to be seen. From beneath the waves, land began to appear. First, dark stone, wet with seawater. Then, slopes and ridges and gentle curves shaped by time. The islands rose slowly, as if waking from a long sleep. The ocean parted around them, flowing calmly, welcoming the new land into the light. Green hills emerged, followed by valleys and quiet resting places for the wind. Maui watched silently as the islands settled into the sea, firm, steady, and peaceful. He did not hurry. He did not speak. He simply allowed the world to become what it was meant to be. When the work was done, the ocean grew still once more. The waves returned to their gentle rhythm, washing softly against the newborn shores. Maui's canoe drifted, floating quietly beside the land as the sun rose higher in the sky. And so the islands came to rest upon the sea, surrounded by water, warmed by light, and watched over by sky and stars. They remain there still, rising calmly from the ocean, holding the memory of that first quiet morning. Now the sea continues its slow breathing, the islands rest, and the night grows peaceful once more. You may rest too, as the waves move gently again and again. Long before the world knew light, before forests breathed, and before the oceans found their rhythm, there was only closeness. Rangi, the Sky Father, and Papa, the Earth Mother, rested together, holding one another, so close that no space existed between them. Between their embrace, their children lived quietly. They waited there in the gentle darkness, not afraid, only still. They could feel the warmth of Papa beneath them, steady, patient, and the soft shelter of Rangi above, wide, protective. Time passed slowly, as time often does in darkness. The children began to notice, not a longing, but a gentle wondering. What might lie beyond the quiet space? What might grow if light were allowed to enter? They spoke softly among themselves, their voices calm, filled with care for their parents. They did not wish to separate Rangi and Papa, only to give them room to breathe and to allow the world to unfold gently. So they rested their hands and feet and thoughts against the space between sky and earth. Very slowly, almost without effort, Rangi began to rise. Not in pain, not in sorrow, but with a soft release, like a deep breath after long rest. Papa remained below, steady and calm, opening herself to the light above. As the space widened, light flowed in. It moved carefully, touching the earth, awakening color and warmth and quiet movement. The first breeze wandered gently across Papa's surface, and Rangi stretched himself wide, becoming the endless sky. Though separated, Rangi and Papa remained connected. Rangi's tears fell softly as rain, cool and gentle, returning to Papa's waiting arms. Papa answered with mist, rising slowly as if reaching upward in quiet remembrance. Between them, life began to grow. Forests rooted themselves in Papa's body, their leaves brushing the air. Rivers learned to travel, slowly finding their way to the sea. Birds rested in the open sky, and creatures moved peacefully upon the land. Rangi watched over all, holding the stars in his wide embrace. Papa held the world, patient and generous, beneath every step. And the children of light and space learned to live in the gentle balance between sky and earth. Even now, they remain with us. When rain falls softly, it is Rangi remembering. When the earth feels warm and steady beneath you, it is Papa holding you. The world rests between them still, breathing slowly, held in care and wrapped in quiet. You may rest too, between sky and earth, safe, supported, and calm. In the beginning, before land had shape, before names were spoken, there was only the ocean. Endless, gentle, and deep. The sea moved slowly in the darkness, rising and falling, as it had always done, without hurry, without sound. Above the water, there was no sky as we know it, only quiet space, wide and waiting. Within this calm, Tagaloa existed, not moving, not resting, simply present. Tagaloa was the awareness of the world yet to be, the breath before the first word, the stillness before form. He watched the ocean, and the ocean watched him, and between them, time passed softly. For a long while, nothing changed, and this was good. The sea remained smooth and dark, holding its mysteries close, rocking gently beneath the quiet heavens. But slowly a feeling began to grow, not of urgency, but of readiness. Tagaloa looked upon the waters and imagined a place where light might rest, where warmth could gather, and where life might one day move gently across the surface of the world. He did not rush. Creation, when done with care, moves at its own pace. From the depths of the ocean, Tagaloa called forth movement, not waves, not storms, but a slow gathering. The waters responded, curling inward, folding upon themselves, as if listening. From this quiet motion, the first shapes began to form, subtle, almost unseen. Far below the surface, stone stirred, not sharply, not violently, but with patience, as if waking from a long sleep. The sea parted slightly, making room as the first land began to rise. It emerged slowly, dark and smooth, wet with ancient water, not yet an island, only a promise. The ocean embraced it, flowing around its edges, cooling it, shaping it, teaching it how to rest. Tagaloa watched and allowed the land to continue its gentle ascent. More stone followed, then ridges, then quiet slopes, lifting themselves into the open air. The ocean breathed around them, never pulling away, never letting go. When the first island reached the surface, it did not break the silence. It simply remained, floating, settled, as if it had always belonged there. Light touched it softly, revealing its shape, its curves, its waiting soil. Tagaloa did not stop. One island was not enough for balance, for harmony, for the long future he envisioned. So again, the waters moved. Again, the depths responded. Another island rose, and then another, each one unique, each one calm, each one placed with intention. Between them, the ocean flowed freely, forming channels and passages and quiet lagoons. Time continued, measured only by the slow rhythm of the sea. Tagaloa observed, adjusting nothing, forcing nothing, trusting the natural unfolding of the world. When the land had fully risen, Tagaloa turned his attention to the sky. He allowed space to open above the islands, stretching wide, becoming light and air and gentle movement. Clouds formed slowly, drifting without purpose, learning how to wander. Then came rain, not heavy, not sudden, but soft and steady. It fell upon the new land, seeping into the earth, cooling the stone, preparing it for life. The land drank quietly, grateful, patient. From the earth, green began to appear. First, small and subtle, then spreading gently across hills and valleys. Plants rooted themselves carefully, holding the land in place, learning the rhythm of sun and rain. Palm trees rose slowly, their leaves whispering in the breeze. The islands began to feel alive, not with noise, but with presence. The ocean continued its endless motion, bringing fish and coral and quiet color to the shores. Birds found places to rest, and the sky learned to hold them. Tagaloa watched over all of it, not as a ruler, but as a guardian. He did not interfere. The world was learning, and learning takes time. When the islands were ready, Tagaloa allowed life to move freely between land and sea. Creatures found their paths, some upon the earth, some beneath the water, each moving at its own gentle pace. Balance settled naturally, as it often does when nothing is rushed. And so the Samoan islands came to rest, held by the ocean, warmed by the sky, and shaped by time. They stood quietly, green and strong, surrounded by the endless blue. Even now, Tagaloa remains present, not above, not below, but within the rhythm of the world, in the movement of the waves, in the stillness of the land, in the slow passing of clouds across the sky. When you hear the ocean breathing at night, it remembers its first task. When the land feels steady beneath you, it remembers its gentle rising. And when the air moves softly around you, it carries the quiet balance Tagaloa set in place. The islands remain, resting as they were meant to do, between sea and sky, unchanging, unhurried, and calm. You may rest too, as the ocean continues its slow rhythm, again and again. Before there was sky, before there was ocean, before sound or movement, there was only Ta'aroa, and Ta'aroa was alone. Not lonely, not restless, simply whole. He existed within a shell, an egg of smooth, endless darkness. No edges, no direction, no time. Within this sacred space, Ta'aroa rested, aware, patient, complete. There was no need for light, no need for land, no need for motion. Everything that would ever exist was already present, held quietly within him. Time did not pass as we understand it. Moments did not follow one another. There was only being and gentle awareness. Ta'aroa remained still, listening to the silence that surrounded him and filled him at once. Slowly, a thought emerged. Not a plan, not a desire, a readiness. Ta'aroa became aware that what was held within could be shared, that what was complete could unfold. And so, without force, without urgency, he began to move. The egg shifted. Not cracking, not breaking, but opening, as something long closed finally stretches. From within, Ta'aroa pressed outward, gently, patiently, allowing space to be born. The shell gave way in silence. From its opening came the first separation. Above, space expanded, wide and light. Below, substance gathered, dense and calm. Thus, sky and earth found their places. Ta'aroa emerged and took form. From his being came structure. From his presence came order. The pieces of the broken shell became the foundations of the world, the earth below, the sky above, and all that rests between. The ocean followed. It flowed gently into the new spaces, finding its boundaries without resistance. It learned how to move, how to pause, how to return. The sea remembered the stillness from which it came. Ta'aroa shaped the world not with commands, but with balance. He allowed land to rise where it was needed and water to remain where it belonged. Mountains settled slowly. Valleys opened themselves. Nothing rushed. Light appeared next, not harsh, not sudden, but soft and steady. It touched the land carefully, revealing shape and color, never overwhelming. Shadow followed naturally, offering rest and contrast. From the earth, life began to stir, not loudly, not all at once. Small movements, quiet
growth. Green reaching gently upward. Plants learned how to root. Trees learned how to sway. The world began to breathe. Tagaloa watched without interference. Creation did not need guidance now. It needed time. The rhythms settled into place. Day and night, tide and stillness, growth and rest. The sky learned how to hold clouds. The ocean learned how to cradle islands. The land learned how to support life. Everything found its rhythm by listening. When the world was complete, Tagaloa did not leave. He became part of the balance. In the vastness of the sky, in the depth of the sea, in the quiet strength of the land. Not separate, not distant, present. Even now, when the night is very still and the world feels wide and calm, the memory of that first silence remains. In the space between thoughts, in the pause between breaths. The world continues to unfold just as it did then. Slowly, patiently, without force. And like the egg that once held everything, you too are held, supported by earth, covered by sky, carried by quiet rhythm. You do not need to move. You do not need to become anything. For now, it is enough to rest within the stillness from which all things come.